Today we're going to go ahead and learn how to solve square roots without a calculator. Our first example is the square root of 225. And in order to find the square root of 225, I could follow 3 easy steps. Our first step is to find the prime factorization in expanded form. So what I need to do is to ask myself, what times what is going to give me 225? Since 225 ends in a 5, I know it's divisible by 5. So it turns out to be 5 times 45, and that's going to give us 225. I could circle the 5 because that is prime. Now I need to ask myself, what times what will give us 45? And that's going to be 5 and 9. I could still split up that 9, which gives us 3 and 3. And then I could go ahead and write out my prime factorization. My prime factorization turns out to be 3 times 3 times 5 times 5. After completing the first step, I can move on to the second step, which is to pair up any of the prime numbers. In this particular case, I can see that I have a pair of 3's and I have a pair of 5's with nothing left over. Since I don't have anything left over, I know that this particular number, the square root of 225, will become a perfect square. My mathematical instincts just tells me to go ahead and multiply these two numbers, 3 times 5, which gives us 15. So the square root of 225 is 15. I purposely left off the third step because this particular one is a perfect square. The third step only needs to be taken when we have a number that is not a perfect square. For example, the square root of 540. I'm still going to follow the same first two steps. I'm going to go ahead and find a prime factorization of 540. And since it ends in a 0, I know I can divide it by 10, giving us 10 and 54. Neither one is prime, so I could go ahead and split those up. 10 would become 2 and 5. Those are prime, so I could circle those. And 54 can be split up as 6 and 9. I can still split up the 6 as 2 and 3, and the 9 as 3 and 3. So the prime factorization for this particular number is going to be 2 2's, 3 3's, and a 5. Moving on to step 2, I need to go ahead and pair them up. I notice that I have a pair of 2's and a pair of 3's, but the 3 and the 5 are still left over. This is when the third step comes into place. The third step says to take each pair out of the house and leave the rest in the house, and then multiply. When we say the house, we're talking about the radical symbol. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a radical symbol next to the word house. So looking at this problem, I can go ahead and put a house inside the problem. And I notice that I have a 2 and a 3 that are paired up, and I can take that out of the house. And I can take my leftovers, the 3 and a 5, and put that in the house. And then it asks us to go ahead and multiply these. So if I go ahead and multiply these, 2 times 3 will give us 6. 3 times 5 will give us 15. So our answer can look like 6 root 15. However, when I go ahead and write my answer as 6 root 15, I need to go ahead and take a look at the problem again. The problem stated that I wanted both the positive and the negative answer. The symbol we can see is right over here with the plus and minus sign. So all I need to do is just to go ahead and put the plus and minus sign with the answer, and our final answer will be plus or minus 6 root 15.